evening. Good evening. This is Rudy Giuliani, and we are live from the Republican National Convention 2024 in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. We're on the third night of a very, a great convention, maybe our most convention in a long, long time. But a somewhat unorthodox convention. It's not following the usual order, but it's getting the job done, and it is getting out an enormously positive message. One of the shocking things that we learned, and it seems like since the time that President Trump was almost killed, almost assassinated, one revelation after another is shocking. Now, I'm going to tell you the first one. So, presidents and the security of presidents was my business. I'm not an amateur. I arrested Hinckley. I did the after report on the things that went wrong with Judge Webster. I had a significant involvement in his security for a while until it was straightened out. And then I did security for 8 years for two different presidents who came to New York 25 times. And when they come to New York, I'm sorry, Secret Service, we got you outnumbered 5-1, and you don't really know where Bay Ridge is. So, we run it. And they help. They make the decisions for the president, but we close down all the streets. And I have taught security, and I had a worldwide security company. So the minute the president was shot, I was, I don't know how to tell you what I was, right? But very quickly, they got him down on the ground, which was the right thing to do. And when they brought him up, and the first thing I saw was his head, I said, get these, I can't tell you the word I used, the hell out of there. Where did they take them from? The failure school? You are not supposed to see his head. Now, you know why you're not supposed to see his head? Because if the sniper hasn't been killed, and they can't be sure, even if they're told he's killed, or there's another sniper, you just gave him a target that half a marksman can hit from 150 yards. His face was right there. That is, I have no doubt, under the Reagan administration, under my administration as mayor, any of my police commissioners, anybody who was involved in that, the people right now, gone. Go find another job. You're not cut out for this. They finally got him covered up, and then he did what presidents often do. This you can't. You got to try to stop it, but you don't get penalized as much when this happens, because Reagan did it. He did it. He got up above, and of course he did that unbelievably inspiring. So, I don't know, it's 6-1, if that was okay. And then the chaotic exit. Now, I have with me Ali Reza Jeff Sodati, who is an expert on Iran. Because we didn't know at that time that there had already been significant threats from Iran on the American candidate, Donald Trump. Can you tell us about that, Ali Reza?
Well, first of all, it's a great pleasure to be on your show, Mayor.
We'll put that real close.
Yes. Thank you so much, really, for the opportunity. And obviously, I saw the report that showed up actually on CNN.com saying that the intelligence community here in the United States had some information to some individuals associated with the Iranian regime plotting a terror on the President of the United States. I haven't seen any other follow-up stories on that one. I don't know what the sources are, where it came from, how accurate and detailed they are. But one thing I do know, Mayor, is that this is a regime that is built on terrorism.
Well, you and I both know that.
Absolutely. I mean, you've been a target yourself.
I've had two conspiracies to kill me.
Exactly.
You had one that almost just about happened.
Yes, exactly. And it was March of 2018. The Iran regime had brought a truck bomb of explosives to target a gathering that you were addressing along with the leader of the the Iranian resistance, Mrs. Maria Rajavi in Albania. And that was neutralized. And then a few months later, in July of 2018,
yeah, just three. They were really
yes, a so-called diplomat of the Iran regime brought a very powerful bomb from Iran and gave it to two culprits. And right before they managed to detonate it, they were all arrested. And you were there.
But I was there with hundreds of world leaders.
There were hundreds of world leaders. There were over 100,000 people there. There were members of Congress. You were there, and a whole host of American officials were there. And that bomb was meant to kill. And thank God, that was neutralized. And we had the same situation. So you look at them.
Now you had, maybe you don't want to talk about. You had the situation where they actually arrested somebody.
Yes, actually they arrested two Iranian agents
planning to kill you.
Yes, exactly, in August.
And the guys in Belgium and France were prosecuted who attempted to kill me and Madame Rajavi.
Exactly.
So these are not like tall tales. These are real.
They're actual people on the ground who were killers, who were arrested. There were bombs that were neutralized. Specific plans. So, and there is a history of terrorism associated with this regime over the years.
Do you think that, first of all, do you think the reports that the regime is trying to take out President Trump before he gets elected, do you think that's...
Well, I just look at the statements made by the Iran regime's officials. Right. Starting from the Supreme Leader Khamenei, that after the President of the United States and the U.S. government took out Qasem Soleimani, the terror master, in January 2020, the Iran regime threatened with revenge, and they repeatedly mentioned not just the President of the United States, but anyone else who was in any way associated with it, including Secretary Pompeo, John Bolton. There's a whole host of names there. And then, of the Supreme Leader Khamenei himself, there was a picture that showed up in January 2021 that basically showed the President Trump on the golf course, the picture of President Trump on the golf course, and then on top of it, in a big title, it said, "The revenge is coming." Is for sure. And it wasn't just one incident. Repeatedly, Supreme Leader, has threatened that President Trump will be targeted. Other officials of the Iran regime, including the commander of the Quds Force, which is the terror machine of the Revolutionary Guards.
That's what Soleimani was.
That's the successor to Soleimani repeated that. And the so-called moderate President Hassan Rouhani, he repeated the same thing. And so it's not one incident or off-the-cuff statement by someone within the regime. It's the highest ranking officials of the regime all throughout these years, in the past 3 years at least, or 4 years, they have repeated that. So it's, that's why I think everyone should, A, take it very seriously, B, realize that the terrorism when it comes to this regime is part of their DNA, and C, this is not going to go away by just ignoring it or just cutting a deal with Iran or quid pro quo or releasing some hostages.
Biden and his administration, this is really very difficult because they're in love with Iran. They seem to have a love affair with Iran. In the last Democratic administration, I don't know how many hundreds of billions they gave them, including in cash. I mean, you know this business as well as I do. Well, you don't give a country cash unless they're going to give it to criminals or terrorists.
Well, any kind of encouragement to, to the state-sponsored terrorism. Remember, the Iran regime is the world's leading state-sponsor of terrorism for over 3 decades. So you give them reward. Actually, by allowing them to take hostages and then get rewarded for that, and that would further encourage them to take more hostages, and that's exactly what's happened over the past 3 decades.
When I investigated murders, I was taught by a very famous New York City homicide detective. The first thing you do is look for the person with the biggest motive.
Yes.
So who has the biggest motive to kill Donald Trump? Well, I don't want to say who does, but the second biggest is Iran, because he was terrible to Iran. I mean, to a large extent, those protests better than anyone. I won't say why, but you do. But he was a big help to those protests when he blessed them, as opposed to Obama, who went like that to them. Remember, they started, at 14 originally, right?
Yes, exactly.
And Obama said nothing. Or maybe he even criticized them, I don't remember. But he said nothing. He didn't do the Ronald Reagan embrace of Poland, of solidarity, which is all you need for your people. Your people are very motivated.
Actually, Mayor, there has been several rounds of major uprisings in Iran that people have been calling for regime change, death to the dictator, death to Khamenei.
You see that? All those things you're saying,
yes,
those are the earmarks. If you go back and look at the immediate predecessor of an overthrow. So I compare it to Gaza and Palestine. There are no Palestinians in the street calling for the overthrow of Hamas. Maybe they don't want to, or maybe they're afraid they're going to be killed. So they are not close to a change. In Iran,
actually, in Iran,
you're this close.
Absolutely. The most important thing, especially in the country of 80 plus million population, is where do the people stand? The vast majority of the people have been involved in a very costly demonstration. It's not just, there is no risk for you to come to the streets. People have gotten killed. People are being shot directly by the Revolutionary Guards, yet they come to the streets. They boycotted the Iran regime's elections, so-called elections, and there is a cost to it because elections in Iran is mandatory. You have to participate and get your ID stamp. That stamp you need, if you want to get a job, you want to get to universities, all of that. Yet only less than 9% of the population, according to regime's own figures, plus the reports we have gotten from inside Iran. So this was the most boycotted election, most recently, just last month. So that shows that people reject this regime. They see the possibility for change through the street, through demonstrations, through uprising and the resistance. And the resistance is so powerful that the regime risks to send terrorists in Europe and other places to target.
How much has it lost in the 4 years of Biden not just appeasing Iran, but financing Iran? I mean, Iran went from a very poor country to a moderately rich country because of Biden. And because of Biden lifting his sanctions and loosening up money that we were holding, really holding for the time in which a democratic, decent government is returned so that you all, when you do that, will have the money to run a good government. So he's released a lot. Nobody knows how much because he lies about it. But 12 billion, 15 billion, almost within days after he came into office, Iran already was doing better. And Bush had it. I mean, Trump had him in a position where they were walking around the streets selling their organs. How much time will it take for, and Trump, I think, will come in and immediately reestablish all of that? How long will it take for that to have an impact?
Well, first of all, I think definitely will take several months for it to have an impact.
Yeah.
But most important is that it's not, we're not operating in a vacuum. This is a situation that you want to send a signal to the regime by putting sanctions on them, by telling them that you're not going to be rewarded for their terrorism. You're going to be held accountable. Then you send a signal to the people, those who are rising up, that you are on their side. And then you send a signal of those who are acting as the engine for change, that their efforts are being supported, by the United States, by Europe, by other countries. There are several resolutions.
You're going to see a big switch in Saudi Arabia, too.
Yes,
Saudi Arabia, doesn't trust Biden as far as they can throw him. After all, he wanted the prince killed. You don't like a guy like that, right? And they have a close relationship with Trump. So I think you're going to see the Israel, Saudi Arabia situation. And Saudi Arabia, if it has proper support, there's no bigger enemy than Iran.
Well, you definitely, another target is actually you want to send signal to the countries in the region that, for them, in order to end terrorism, they shouldn't build relationship with the Iran regime. Instead, they should, hold their ground firm and push back against the Iran regime. They should realize that the United States, Europe, and other Western countries will be behind them if they stood up to the Iran regime.
Right.
So it's so important how the policy is crafted whether it's Europe or in the United States. And that makes a huge difference. And I tell you, whoever comes to the White House, I think they should realize that what's really happening on the ground is a very promising situation. You have the people of Iran against the Iran regime. You have an organized resistance been fighting the Ayatollahs for 4 decades.
President Trump, I can tell you, believes, right or wrong, that if he remained in office within a year or two, there'd be a new regime in Iran, and it would be one of the great achievements. He believes it. He believes that the right policies were in place, that the right dynamic was going on in Iran. That dynamic has been changed a lot now. So it isn't as if you're going to come back and just take over where it was. You're going to have to reestablish it. But I have no doubt that he will. And one of the things that's going to help him the most is you and the people that you're organized with, because we'll do more on this when we can, but this is a very big issue in this campaign. And there's no one the Iranians want dead more than President Reagan. So when he goes back out on the trail, there are a lot of people going to want to kill him. And if the Secret Service actually increased his security because of the Iranian threat, I dread to think what his security was like before, because those security agents were what we call in Brooklyn amateur hour at the Bijou. I mean, Keystone cops can't pull your gun out too short to cover them. Well, we're going to take a short break. We're going to thank Ali Reza, who is a man of great courage and a great patriot and a great lover of America as well. And when we come back, we're going to have Bruce LeVall with us. See you soon.
Thank you, Mayor. Really appreciate it. And I tell you, the solution to the terrorism of the Iran regime is a free Iran, a democratic Iran, Republic Iran, happening by the people of Iran. Thank you so much.
I couldn't
appreciate
hear better words. God bless you.
I'm excited to announce my all-new mattress topper. In the times we're in, I wanted to bring you the best affordable mattress topper ever. So I took my two best technologies and combined them to make the ultimate mattress topper. And now you can get it for as low as $69.98. Queen size only $99.98. It all starts with my famous MyPillow foam that provides you that overall full body support. Second is the individual comfort supports that give you an amazing custom sleep experience. It's like it's made specifically for you. The queen size alone has over 14,000 comfort supports. This is the perfect mattress topper to improve any bed. New bed, old bed, your guest beds. Get them for every bedroom in your house. Go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to get the all-new My Mattress Topper for as low as $69.98. Queen size only $99.98. Don't delay. Order today.
Mike Lindell here, and like you, I see our country being destroyed daily. We face massive economic issues, and I can tell you from firsthand experience, there are people in power who threaten the values that have made our country great. Well, I've been a believer in gold and silver for a long time, and I've searched for years for a partner that shares my values. Well, Genesis Gold Group showed me how easy it is to protect your IRA, 401k, or your retirement with gold and silver. Their faith-driven approach to service and stewardship is one that stands out from the rest. So call Genesis Gold Group now at 1-800-200-GOLD. That's 1-800-200-4653, or go to LindellGoldRush.com now.
The beef industry takes another blow as Cricket Burgers win America's best burger for the 4th year in a row. This comes after many major beef processing plants have shut their doors for good.
The beef industry continues to take a dive as cricket skyrocket in demand. The insatiable insects have now overtaken cows as America's favorite animal. A market change that has even caused McDonald's to
as cricket have cows are now protected cows as Americans say we're no longer receiving cows to be put on the endangered species list.
And here's why that might not be such an effort. Consider this. Cows are harmful to the environment.
Cows will go extinct.
Introducing the all-new Prepper Bar. These 62.2 gram bars, perforated and easily broken into 3 denominations, will fit all of your needs. Perfect for asset protection from inflation, economic turmoil, or use it for bartering or trade. Prepper bars make an ideal gift for precious metal lovers. Available in gold and silver, these slim Prepper bars fit neatly into your wallet and can be used in any situation. As gold and silver prices surge and economists predict shortages, now is the time to secure your precious metals with Prepper bars. The only bar divisible into 3 different sizes for maximum utility, tradability, and proudly mined and minted in the United States, these Prepper bars are IRA eligible and will help you diversify your wealth. To order your own Prepper bars, go to www.frankspeechbar.com. That's www.frankspeechbar.com.
Welcome back. And we have with us now a very, very strong, very important, very loyal supporter of the president and advisor, Bruce LeVall. And Bruce is from Georgia, but his knowledge of politics is nationwide, and his wisdom worldwide.
Oh, thanks. I appreciate
and
that.
he's one of the guys I rely on the most for good, solid advice on where the heck we are. So maybe we'll begin overall. So we're watching the convention, right? We have Biden. We've got Biden. Maybe yes, maybe no. I guess we just got to put it out of our mind right now. So how is it going? And we have our ticket now. You think we're in a very strong position?
Yeah, I think we are. And thanks for having me, Rudy. You know, we had some really good speakers, and, you know, it was good to see Youngkin and everyone kind of come on and like, hey, and then, you know, even Nikki Haley's crowd.
I agree. 100%.
I mean, you know, look, one thing about politics, you know that, Rudy, we all go back. I stuffed envelopes for Reagan in Fort Hood, Texas in 1980. So I'm dating myself. That's where I started, and helped George H. and I helped Bob Dole, and the list goes on. And of course, local elections. And so, you know, I like to see when people just stop, not take it personal, the fact like, okay, all right, I didn't prevail. I'm not going to take my toys and run. I'm going to come back to the sandbox, put the toys back out there, and support our nominee, which is President Trump, which I was glad to see. You know, DeSantis, I think he finally woke up a little bit and said, dang, why did I jump out there? Because we told him not to do it.
Yeah.
We told him.
We told him to run, yeah.
I said, man, come on, you're a young guy,
I thought it was wait 4 years. You'll be pristine.
But Rudy, there's one thing, and I have to say this to all your audience too, and President Trump. Well, I have to brag on Rudy about this. Is what made this mayor right here successful is you couldn't buy him, and you can't buy Donald Trump. And the leadership, whether you're the district attorney, whether you're the governor, whatever, you're the mayor, if you have that candidate that can't be bought, you have a real leader, and they can make real tough decisions without worrying about, I owe this person, I owe that person. That's really the state of the country. What we got involved in is why, and that's the interrupter, which is President Trump. And we said earlier before we got on the show, my optimism is the America First is inspiring these younger folks to step in there and say, you know what, I want to take that same mantle, that same torch, or the 4x1, I call it the 4x100 relay, where you're running that first leg and you hand it to the second guy, you hand it to the third, and you give it to that anchor and you run that finish line, Rudy. You know what I mean?
Right.
But it can't be tied to like favors and pay to play, brother. That's the thing that's killed our republic.
That's why they fear him so much.
Yeah.
And because the Democrats have taken pay to play and made it into a racketeering enterprise. I mean, it's the core of the party now. And I'm not saying everyone in the party. I'm talking about the leaders. I mean, it's one crook after another. But when we deal with them, or when we think about them, they're, you know, politicians. These guys are world-class crooks. I mean, the amount of money involved in the Biden bribes is $51 million or more.
Yeah.
That's a staggering amount of money.
Yeah.
It's a staggering amount of money. And that's just the money that I can get to in the hard drive that Hunter left behind. There are several others. And one of them, very strangely, which the American people don't know, is in the hands of Mr. Zelensky.
Yeah.
Who, anytime he wants money out of Joe, says,
I know.
how would you like him to see these pictures?
Yeah, that's true.
I got better pictures than Giuliani.
That's true. And wears a T-shirt to the White House. He ain't wear no T-shirt to Donald Trump's White House, did he, Rudy? He had to wear that bugle boy tie to see President Trump.
Not unless he turns over all the evidence that he has.
Exactly. And that gets back to that pay-to-play stuff.
And the heck, you think it just involves Biden? I don't.
Yeah, I think that he has so many folks involved. He's pretty much said this: if I go down, you go down.
Yeah,
and I think that's given him some level of protection from the DOJ and many other connections through the judicial system that, like, they all know as a club. Even the lobbying firms that help give money to these particular organizations to help them. So, I'm just prayerful, and I'm thank God that God spared President Trump too. But
that was close, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. That was.
How does that change? How does that change the president and the race? Do you think?
I think it's gonna, it's going to help him even more. And I hate to say it in that context. And I'll say this. Let me pivot over to do a black vote too. We've saw the pathway of all the lying on him and all the fake indictments, and you saw of course Supreme Court's ruling. Black folks see that, and and a lot of black men. And I'll just say this: in my family, historically, I'm in my 60s. I have seen dual justice systems and some of the black culture in the South. I'm just going to be honest with you.
Of course, yeah.
So there is a connection of understanding.
I feel that. I feel that. I don't know how to describe it. You can describe it better than I can. But over the last 2 years, I've seen just people coming up to me, disproportionate number of black people, very emotional and very enthusiastic.
Yeah.
And why get the message to him? Don't believe that all blacks are going. We think he was a terrific president. We saw what he did to help black people that were being unfairly imprisoned.
Yeah.
We saw what he did with the economy, and we feel like he's being persecuted.
Yeah. I remember when you were down at Fulton County, when you were with Ted, and I remember you talked about the pendulum and how that pendulum was swinging. And you were saying, you guys sit through this and you're quiet. You remember this pendulum is going to swing back your way.
Yeah.
If you don't stand, it's kind of like you look out your window and you see your neighbor being robbed and you do nothing. You don't call the police. You're just as guilty.
Yeah, it's a shame. A lot of people are doing that.
And to your point, I think voters that historically didn't go with President Trump, they see that like, man, I just can't sit back. I know that's not true.
Right.
The truth will come to light. It's on God's time, fortunately, but it does come. And I think that's going to be favored, to answer your question, that's going to resonate with a lot of folks that are identifying with some story in their family or cousin or brother that they see what happened through President Trump.
Well, Georgia is a critical state.
Yep.
And at this point, I guess in all the polls, it is by a small margin. Trump ahead.
Yeah, we're +5, +6.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, how solid is that, and what are the elements that are going to make that happen or not happen?
Well, let me put it in this perspective. I remember, I'm a military family guy. My dad was in service and all that. We knew what absentee ballots were about. They were for the military and incapacitated. That's what we were birthed at. When they shut us down and they said we're going to mail you with Zuckerberg, prioritizing on ballot boxes without proper supervision in Fulton, DeKalb, Clayton, and Gwinnett, and that's the highest concentration of black votes, et cetera, in the whole entire state. Because remember, Georgia's 37% blacks that live in Georgia. 37.
It's
high, right.
Largest percentage?
One of the largest. Yeah, one of the largest. So, it was a perfect storm, obviously. And to answer your question is, thank God we're not shut down and we're not at the mercy of the quote, we'll just mail your ballot in, And I can say this, I've always been anti-electronic voting devices. That's me. Notice the term I used. And so, but I think we have to win big, Rudy. We got to go in aggressively strong, and we got to win bigly. You like
we have to win big because we have to put in a margin of error.
Exactly.
Because
that's my point.
If you can get angry if you want, because they're going to cheat.
Yeah. No, I mean, no, and it's. I think that's some of the reality too, is that people are starting to see like how can this be when we have such a successful economy in Trump's tenure? And they're looking at the balance sheet.
Well, of course, winning big also gives him a mandate.
Right.
To get this done quickly.
Yeah.
And a lot of people are worried that he only has 4 years. But I like that because he gets things done in Trump time.
Yeah. Well,
remember they had that expression when it was, it'll get done in Trump time. And I go back with him on that with the Waldman Rink when Mayor Koch was fumbling and bumbling and corruption.
Well, the postal post office in D.C. when Obama told him to fix it. Remember that?
I'll get it done in a year.
Remember that?
Yeah.
The list goes on. Yeah.
No, I mean he's a miracle worker in terms of motivating people to get the job done, and he knows that before he leaves his 4 years, of course he's got to leave it in good hands.
Yeah.
But he has to have it.
Yeah. Well,
turned around.
He'll be lame duck.
One agency after another.
Yeah.
If it's in our healthcare area or education area. In our education area, they're trying to make our children property of the state.
Yeah, that's true.
Shop them up and don't tell the parents about it.
Yeah, that's so true.
Wow.
And our only optimism, our only hope, and I showed you earlier on my phone, we saw Byron Donalds, we saw Burgess Owens, Anna Paulina down in Florida.
Right.
Great fighter. Loan Boebert over in Colorado. Of course, Margie Taylor Greene, whether people like him, whatever. Those are America First candidates. They got all elected in Trump's tenure, Rudy. Right, and there's many more. We haven't gone down the list on State House, State Senate. So a couple of Superior Court judges I know down in Georgia went through. A couple of school board members in Fulton County, Lily Posidak, who's Colombian, who came from the coalition, who's America First. So I have to push the optimism for the audience, everyone, to say, you talk so much about what happened. It gets a little doom and gloom, but I'm here to tell you, I bring optimism. I bring hope because I know this. I see this. I'm a 30-year business owner in Atlanta. I talk to a lot of different people, the butchers, the bakers, the candlestick makers. I'm that guy. I talk to everyone. And I'm starting to see, and the whole ideal of service and ownership is inspiring good people to run. Take your business knowledge and go run.
What about my favorite prosecutor? How's Forney doing?
Oh, Fanny. So, listen, I'm supposed to be on the RNC commercial. I don't know when they're going to run. I did a documentary about
Forney?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, I got in the car and the cameras. We rode around. I shouldn't be saying this because I haven't aired it yet. I think it's going to air tomorrow night. It's a commercial. But anyway, we took a tour around the jail and outside, and we went to some of the blighted areas.
I spent some time
I know
in
you
jail.
did. Rice Street. I know they're gonna change the Giuliani Street. We try to get a proclamation to change that street, and they'll do it. They'll do it.
The prisoners are.
That's true. That's true. I hate to laugh.
I was embarrassed. When I came out, I was ready for it, and then things they were saying about Forney, it was terrible.
Yeah.
Well, and that was before we knew. That's before we knew about.
But let me tell you what's going on in black culture. Watch this. So remember when she got jammed up? She ran where? To Big Bethel AME Church.
Yeah, and lied.
So, I've been in ministry a long time, and I know all the pastors.
She just completely lied her backside.
But she ran over there. She done slept with this man, his wife.
Which she then lied about.
Right. And she come over there, stands up in the pulpit. And says, it's racism, Rudy.
Why did you just keep her mouth shut?
It was racism when you were sleeping around in the hotels. It was racism when you took cash and put it in the box. Oh, your daddy said put the cash. Oh, well, I wrote a check over at Kroger and took some extra cash. But you know what? Let me tell you. It's funny you brought that up. I was laughing my butt off. I'm going to tell you why. Because I said, dang it, she was smart enough to say that because it'd be hard to prove the paper trail.
Right.
My daddy gave, or I just collected it. It was a smart move now to tell that lie.
There's a point in her testimony that's never been examined in which she says that she took the cash, or a big chunk of the cash,
right,
from her campaign funds.
Yeah. Oh my God.
And she used it to pay him. Now that's got to be a crime.
Oh my God. I was like, one of the watchdog people sent letters. Georgia Ethics, because it was a county.
I keep playing that video.
And took money from the campaign. Yes.
And nobody cares. It's like the judge just say like, oh.
Well, I have put the pressure back on the business community because we the business people, we run stuff if we stick together. I mean, we're the sales tax. We collect all the sales tax. Sales tax pays for police, roads, et cetera, et cetera. I'm like, guys, do we want to be the laughing stock about a place that nobody wants to do business? Now, I'll tell you a true story real quick. I don't know how much time we got. I have a friend that owns a huge franchise. I won't say his name. He was going to put 2 more really cool franchises that were going to be around Roswell Road in Fulton County. He said, man, I can't because he supports President Trump. Am I going to get scrutinized, my businesses? Now, same thing Kevin O'Leary said about New York. There's guys talking like that. Bro, this is real.
Oh, my God. I had a hard time getting a lawyer. I had a hard time getting a lawyer for other people. We've had a hard time getting lawyers for Trump.
Yes, I know.
I mean, and they tell me if we love you, we'll be thrown out of our law firm.
Exactly. I mean, that is so anti-American, so anti-civil rights, so anti-civil liberties. Yeah.
I can't imagine the left of 30 years ago not going crazy if that happened.
That's right.
I mean, they would worry if the terrorists don't have lawyers.
Just a little background real quick. My uncle Dr. Nolan LeVall, my dad's brother, marched with A.D. King, which is Alveda King's daddy. That's my connections with Alveda, okay?
Beautiful.
And the whole part of that was fighting to get to the polls. The whole deal of that movement was about the vote, Rudy. That's what it was about, just to get to the polls without persecution.
Right.
And I feel like we're back in that. Actually, I wrote about that because I opinioned and write for the Washington Times about the voting generational curse and the fall of Fulton County, Finding Wills. I wrote a lot of that stuff, and a lot of it was the persecution of the weaponization of not so much as the judicial system, but just the political machine of trying to destroy a business or a person just because you disagree with someone.
Right.
That's the very thing we fought for, Rudy.
Right. Exactly.
In the civil rights movement.
Exactly. I mean, it's like there's one acceptable ideology.
Yep.
Kind of reminds you of communism. One acceptable ideology. You fall in line. If you don't fall in line, we destroy you.
Yeah.
And they try to destroy you. They don't just try to beat you. They try to ruin your ability to make a living, ruin your family.
I think we all, and I know some of the viewers and listeners that are, obviously I'm a target. I'm on world news, etc. But a lot of us have taken tremendous hits. And say, I lost a third of my business.
Yeah.
I know some pastors that lost half their congregations were coming out forward. I know businesses that almost got completely shut down because they put a Trump sign in their window. So we all have a fight in this movement. And I think this is why this is so critical for us to keep standing strong because we.
So what will happen in the black community? There'll still be a certain portion of the black community that they're going to own.
Yeah.
Is it going to turn out a little less? That group, the group that's not capable of making the move to Trump, is there a chance that they will not, because they're in a state of confusion, they'll just give up?
I think it's a combination, but I also think it's a combination. You got to remember the checkbook, Rudy.
Yeah.
I mean, homes are 8%. Atlanta, the cheapest home you can get is $400,000, and that's a fixer-upper, brother.
Mm-hmm.
So who can qualify for that? And your debt to ratio in terms of your income stream has to coincide with those new regulations to get lending. And then you got gas, you got price of food, bro. This is real business.
So these are practical issues as against ideological issues that really are being distorted.
And watch this, real talk. Y'all fact check me on this. Over 70,000+ eviction notices on the docket now in the city of Atlanta. Right now. Fact check me.
Wow.
A third understaffed of police. Understaffed. Zone 1, 3, they're all totally grossly under. I can go down the list. So when you look at this, that's why our crime is so high.
Necessarily means more crime, more deaths, more destruction. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and that's why City of Buckhead wanted their own cityhood, because it's murder constantly. So to answer your question, yes, but I really believe, I just got to believe that. How much more do you need to go through this? Kind of like in the movie Help.
Yeah.
When she goes, aren't you tired? Miss, aren't you just tired? That old evil white woman, remember her? Was just beating up on her maid, made her go pee out there in the outhouse. Remember that, Rudy? And she finally said, Miss So-and-so, ain't you just tired? And I hate to put that contrast like that, but yeah, I mean, enough's enough. So we have to have our optimism. We got to have faith. And Rudy, you know this too. When you took that oath years ago, you knew that you were going to have to lay down on the sword to make it a better day.
100%. Yeah, I knew.
We didn't know it was going to be this sharp.
I didn't know. I didn't know that, but I did know.
Or how long that sword was going to be.
I didn't know how long it would carry on, but it's worth it.
Yeah. But I appreciate you, man.
My good
Thanks
friend.
for having me, man. I always love coming on, brother.
We'll be talking some more.
Thank you.
This is an exceptional guy.
I appreciate you.
We love him, Bruce LeVall. We'll be right back.
I'm excited to announce my all-new mattress topper. In the times we're in, I wanted to bring you the best affordable mattress topper ever. So I took my two best technologies and combined them to make the ultimate mattress topper. And now you can get it for as low as $69.98. Queen size only $99.98. It all starts with my famous MyPillow foam that provides you that overall full body support. Second is the individual comfort supports that give you an amazing custom sleep experience. It's like it's made specifically for you. The queen size alone has over 14,000 comfort supports. This is the perfect mattress topper to improve any bed. New bed, old bed, your guest beds. Get them for every bedroom in your house. Go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to get the all-new My Mattress Topper for as low as $69.98. Queen size only $99.98. Don't delay. Order today.
Mike Lindell here, and like you, I see our country being destroyed daily. We face massive economic issues, and I can tell you from firsthand experience, there are people in power who threaten the values that have made our country great. Well, I've been a believer in gold and silver for a long time, and I've searched for years for a partner that shares my values. Well, Genesis Gold Group showed me how easy it is to protect your IRA, 401k, or your retirement with gold and silver. Their faith-driven approach to service and stewardship is one that stands out from the rest. So call Genesis Gold Group now at 1-800-200-GOLD. That's 1-800-200-4653, or go to LindellGoldRush.com now.
The beef industry takes another blow as Cricket Burgers win America's best burger for the fourth year in a row. This comes after many major beef processing plants have shut their doors for good.
The beef industry continues to take a dive as cricket has skyrocketed in demand. The insatiable insects have now overtaken cows as America's favorite animal. A market change that has even caused McDonald's to
As cricket has cows are now officially species as Americans they will no longer receiving beef cows to be put on the endangered species list.
And here's why that might not be such a bad thing. Consider this. Cows are harmful to the environment.
cows will go extinct.
Introducing the all-new Prepper Bar. These 62.2 gram bars, perforated and easily broken into 3 denominations, will fit all of your needs. Perfect for asset protection from inflation, economic turmoil, or use it for bartering or trade. Prepper bars make an ideal gift for precious metal lovers. Available in gold and silver, these slim Prepper bars fit neatly into your wallet and can be used in any situation. As gold and silver prices surge and economists predict shortages, now is the time to secure your precious metals with Prepper bars. The only bar divisible into 3 different sizes for maximum utility, tradability, and proudly mined and minted in the United States, these Prepper bars are IRA eligible and will help you diversify your wealth. To order your own Prepper bars, go to www.frankspeechbar.com. That's www.frankspeechbar.com.
5.
Welcome back to the Republican National Convention. And before we go any further, let's do our daily reminder But there are American hostages that are being held. But there are American hostages being held by Hamas. That is a fact that is ignored because the president has no caring for America or American hostages. There's no president in our history that's left more Americans behind than the cowardly scoundrel we have in the White House. And again, I'm just going to mention their names. I think I've told you their status a number of times, but please remember Eden Alexander. He's been a hostage from the very beginning. Itai Chen Z was killed, and his body is there and not been returned. Sagai Dekel Chen is being held by Hamas, and as far as we know is still alive, has not been released. Hirsch Goldberg Pollen has not been released, and he's being held by Hamas, where Qatar has complete, authority over them, and certainly Iran, and just a word from either would release them. And Biden doesn't seem to be willing to use the leverage to get it done. That's a disgrace. And the man hiding in the White House is a disgrace. I don't know how much more he can do wrong. Gadai Hagai was killed, and he was killed. And then his body was taken, and has not been returned, as well as his wife, Judith Weinstein Hagai. And Omar Nutra is 22 years old. He was born in Manhattan. He's the Knicks fan. And he has been taken and not returned. And Keith Segal from North Carolina, 64 years old, he's also was taken and not returned. And the activity of Joe Biden is to go on vacation at Robert Beach and to give loads of money to Iran. He's probably one of their biggest financiers, and to, in all respects, support them. It becomes a convention has changed, and I think I'm going to be able to show you with these three excerpts how this convention has changed, and I'm going to give you an insight that we'll do in much greater detail tomorrow into the president's acceptance speech. Because these speeches were rewritten, and they were rewritten Saturday. And they were rewritten to put in them, I don't know if it toned down anything or ratcheted up anything. That's not the part that concerns me right now. They were rewritten to put in the speech an emphasis on God, an emphasis on religion. I know this from talking president, and not just talking to him, hearing his voice. His voice is different. Don't tell me how I know. His voice is more spiritual. Now I want you to listen to these, and we're going to pull out not necessarily the best part of the speech and the most exciting. These were all great speeches. They all have my congratulations. But let's begin with Ron DeSantis, and I hope we got the right piece, because I want to show you what we mean. Good.
We believe in the principles articulated in the Declaration of Independence that our rights come not from the generosity of the state, but from society, including the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness.
Well, quite obviously, he's putting everything on a much higher plane. That happens when you almost lose your life. Now, of course, DeSantis didn't, but the president did. And you should know how these speeches are done, having given 6, 8, and 2 keynote speeches. They are approved by the committee. In some cases, they'll write it for you if you want. Most people like Ron or Haley or Vivek write their own, and they edit it. And they try to edit it, not so much to change your position, but to fit a theme for that night. So when I was just a speaker, I would often speak on the night that we were dealing with crime, because that was my expertise. I reduced crime more than any mayor in history. But when I was doing keynote speeches, I'd have to then play into the theme of that night. And it was a little more complicated, but it was just loads of fun. And you submit your speech several days, if not a week in advance, and they edit it and come back to you, and then you have a practice session, or as many practice sessions as you need to get ready for it. Now we're going to listen to Nikki Haley. I was very interested in this because, she was the latest one asked to the convention. The animosity was the strongest, I guess. And I know the animosity with the followers is usually greater than with the candidate. We're used to going through people running our own party, saying things they shouldn't say, and then, if they're in goodwill and they really mean it and they can really put it behind them, you forget it. And I think that's what's happened with both DeSantis, for sure with DeSantis, because with enough time to test it. And I think it'll happen with Nikki as well. But I want you to listen to this excerpt from Nikki Haley's speech, which was requested by Donald J. Trump.
That even on our worst day, we are blessed to live in America. God bless you. Thank you. God bless the United States of America.
Well, I mean, God got two mentions there. And the reality is there's an understanding, including in DeSantis' words. I believe Nikki did this earlier in the speech. Us originalists, or whatever you want to call us, true interpreters, and we do believe that the rights in the first 10 amendments come from God, not from the state. There are rights, they're the people's rights. I mean, there are some that are not religious that would say it comes from natural law. But natural law really is a construct of religion, if you understand how it emerged historically. The third speaker to get to that theme was Vivek. And I have a great deal of fondness for Vivek from the beginning of his campaign, and I just love the way he exposed all the phony Republicans in the debate. No holes barred. Smart guy, honest guy, quite a future. But let's listen to it.
And our message to Gen Z is this. You're going to be the Gen... You want to be a rebel? You want to be a hippie? You want to stick it to the man? Show up on your college campus and yourself a conservative. Say you want to get married, have kids, teach them to believe in God and pledge allegiance to their country.
Say you believe in God, you get put on some list. I mean, the FBI was putting on the terrorist list Roman Catholics who like to go to Latin Mass. I mean, it doesn't matter for me. I'm on all their lists. But I like to go to Latin masses. It brings me back to when I was a baby, a child, an altar boy. I want the first two phrases. Introiva, Hare Dei, qui latificat juventutem mea. I still have it memorized. Sometimes I have dreams about my time as an altar boy when I'm sleeping. Maybe screwing up a word and the priest getting upset, or almost dropping the communion, which, my goodness, for a true believer back then would have been, I don't know what kind of penance I would have gotten for that. This whole screw up with the Secret Service cannot be taken lightly. I'm sorry. I don't know. I mean, Dan Bongino, who interviewed me yesterday, wrote a superior article on this, a superior op-ed piece from his vantage point as a very effective and very intelligent and articulate Secret Service agent. And I'm going to tell you what he said. I mean, he said it was a disaster. I mean, and they're making it worse if they're telling us they increase. He says, the president says they asked, or the president's people say they asked for more resources and didn't get it. Now, if the liars around Mayorkas and the Secret Service director, whose pronoun Biden, the dodo, got wrong. He said, "Oh yes, I have talked to him." And Lester Holt, being a sycophant, said, "Hey, you don't know the sex of your." Said, "Just change it to and when you talk to her, what did you say?" Think they would have done that with Trump? No. So Dan just comes straight out in his article and says, "Let me be absolutely clear, the assassination attempt on President Trump was a catastrophic failure on the part of the Secret Service." Now, no one wants to raise a conspiracy theory if we don't need one. And I do not consider this a conspiracy theory. I consider this a required, necessary, and responsible part of law enforcement. So I'll treat this like I was U.S. attorney. And to investigate this, you have to look at all of the possibilities without fear or favor. So I always begin my analysis of a crime, not always, but often, who has the greatest motive? So, Ronald Reagan's killing is sui generis because it was done by a person that really didn't want to kill Ronald Reagan or Jimmy Carter. He wanted to kill somebody famous and important so he could cozy up to Jodie Foster, and he was completely out of his mind. The night that I had him arraigned with Judge Webster, I looked at him in the courtroom, and both the judge and I said after it was over, "This guy is gone." Well, we don't know about this other fellow, but the reality is that this now has to be investigated, and it has to be investigated in a way that the American people have confidence. We can't be left thinking that the Secret Service is going to give less protection to presidential candidates they don't like, or they're going to accede to orders from the White House to do that. He had, without any doubt, inadequate resources to protect him at any time, much less at a time in which they knew there was a new heightened Ukrainian threat. So Dan makes 3 points. The first issue is lack of manpower and security equipment. They didn't have enough people by a lot, and I've done details. This was glaringly inadequate. From the first moment I paid attention to it, when they came rushing forward, I said, "Is this it?" Now, the president's people say they asked for more, didn't get it. They say they gave him more. Well, if they gave him more, they didn't give him enough. The security personnel completely ignored the warnings of the rally goers. And if the shooter on the roof that they thought was too dangerous to go on, the Secret Service, but he went on it. He was clearly visible to the attendees. Then he should have been visible to Secret Service. Why? They don't have as good eyesight as the attendees. They also have sharpshooters, and the guy should have been blown to smithereens before he hurt anybody. I mean, the preponderance or overwhelming nature of the evidence is that the Trump team asked for more resources and didn't get it. And some of the resources were clearly inadequate. For example, these were not I mean, if you go through that in the training academy, there's going to be F- for those agents. And because the agent in charge is responsible for the weakest of them, and they had some agents that you wouldn't take on your police department unless it was the Keystone Cops. First of all, when they brought him up, his head was exposed for, I don't know, we'd have to go count 3, 4. Certainly enough time for a sharpshooter to blow him to smithereens with a very clear shot. The whole idea of being there is to not give him a clear shot. The whole idea of being there is to have men, or even a woman, if you want, who's tall enough to cover. Instead, they had several very short women. One of whom couldn't get her gun back into her holster because she seemed to be panicking, and the other of which was just plain panicking. I mean, I don't know what they give for that now, but if maybe they got to carry a doctor around with these new types of recruits they have through DEI, so they can be given sedatives and told to sit down. I had to do that during September 11. I had to gently throw people out of the room because they were getting panicky and changing the whole atmosphere of the meeting and the ability to focus on the solution. But the real point of it is, this was not a trained expert unit that was being used to do this. And finally, what about the technological advancements? So the excuse that the woman who runs Secret Service gave today, I mean, they're such liars. Their excuses are, it's like Biden excusing saying I put a bullseye on Trump by saying I didn't say in the crosshairs. Well, this completely incompetent, useless security director or head of the Secret Service says, "Oh, no. That roof was thatched. That roof was hard. It was dangerous for my Secret Service agents to go up on the roof." Now we're going to just think about that for a minute and give me the answer when we return. We'll see you in a minute.
I'm excited to announce my all-new mattress topper. In the times we're in, I wanted to bring you the best affordable mattress topper ever. So I took my 2 best technologies and combined them to make the ultimate mattress topper. And now you can get it for as low as $69.98. Queen size only $99.98. It all starts with my famous MyPillow foam that provides you that overall full body support. Second is the individual comfort supports that give you an amazing custom sleep experience. It's like it's made specifically for you. The queen size alone has over 14,000 comfort supports. This is the perfect mattress topper to improve any bed. New bed, old bed, your guest beds. Get them for every bedroom in your house. Go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to get the all-new My Mattress Topper for as low as $69.98. Queen size only $99.98. Don't delay. Order today.
Mike Lindell here, and like you, I see our country being destroyed daily. We face massive economic issues, and I can tell you from firsthand experience, there are people in power who threaten the values that have made our country great. Well, I've been a believer in gold and silver for a long time, and I've searched for years for a partner that shares my values. Well, Genesis Gold Group showed me how easy it is to protect your IRA, 401k, or your retirement with gold and silver. Their faith-driven approach to service and stewardship is one that stands out from the rest. So call Genesis Gold Group now at 1-800-200-GOLD. That's 1-800-200-4653, or go to LindellGoldRush.com now.
The beef industry takes another blow as Cricket Burgers win America's best burger for the 4th year in a row. This comes after many major beef processing plants have shut their doors for good.
The beef industry continues to take a dive as cricket numbers skyrocket in demand. The insatiable insects have now overtaken cows as America's favorite animal. A market change that has even caused McDonald's to
As cricket have cows are now overtaking cows as America means they will no longer be seeing beef cows to be put on the endangered species list.
And here's why that might not be such a bad thing. Consider this. Cows are harmful to the environment.
Cows will go extinct.
Introducing the all-new Prepper Bar. These 62.2 gram bars, perforated and easily broken into 3 denominations, will fit all of your needs. Perfect for asset protection from inflation, economic turmoil, or use it for bartering or trade. Prepper bars make an ideal gift for precious metal lovers. Available in gold and silver, these slim Prepper bars fit neatly into your wallet and can be used in any situation. As gold and silver prices surge and economists predict shortages, now is the time to secure your precious metals with Prepper bars. The only bar divisible into 3 different sizes for maximum utility, tradability, and proudly mined and minted in the United States, these Prepper bars are IRA eligible and will help you diversify your wealth. To order your own Prepper bars, go to www.frankspeechbar.com. That's www.frankspeechbar.com.
Welcome back. This is Rudy Giuliani with Emerald and with Tim Ballard. And I think you all know Tim. Tim is the real-life hero of a great movie that I saw about a year ago.
Last year.
Yeah.
Summer, yeah.
But, you know, the movie, it's hard to believe it's real. You know that because it's so powerful and so strong.
Yeah.
And tell us, you're doing the work right now.
Right.
Bring us up to date. Where are we now? And we know our border is a catastrophe.
Right.
I don't know, 8 million, 10 million, 12 million illegals, illegal aliens who we don't even know who the hell they are. They could come from insane asylums or whatever.
That's right.
But what your focus is on children, human trafficking.
Right.
Tell us what the impact that it's had on that.
Oh my gosh. It's our open border policies are enslaving children. I've testified before Congress, I think 4 different times, right?
Of course.
So I know they know. I know they know this is happening. In the last 2 years, we've lost in the United States over 200,000 unaccompanied minors. Because what happens is they show up at our border unaccompanied.
Right.
There's a phone number on their hand, or they have wristbands. It's organized slavery. It's organized trafficking. And Health and Human Services ends up with the kids. And because our great borders, our Kamala Harris, has directed them to call the phone number and call them the sponsor, and whoever picks up the phone, they say, hey, we got little Miguel Gonzalez here. Oh, yeah, he's my nephew. Where should we send him? They give him the address, and our taxpayer dollars pay for that transport, and then we have no idea where that kid is. Can you imagine if some kid showed up in New York City, right, when you were mayor? What would happen? You would take that kid, you would take him to child protection. You're not going to just give the kid to whoever shows up and says it's mine. But that's how we're treating these foreign children.
You know, Tim, I went to the border 2 years ago, so about a year before your film came out. And I have covered the border policies of the Trump administration and how they beefed up, right? They beefed up the human trafficking budget to counteract it. They created the whole task force. They sent a lot more counterterrorism and trafficking experts down to the southern border. I knew several who had worked in FBI counterterrorism, kidnappings. So they beefed it up. I've always covered it, you know, from a distance. It was very different for me going down there and seeing it. I remember being in the McAllen airport, and I was shocked. I was absolutely stunned to see it in person. There was it was mostly little girls.
Right.
I mean, little girl after little girl, just by themselves but in lines.
Thousands of them are under 5 years old, by the way.
It was crazy. And they had these envelopes, the yellow manila envelopes with, writing on each side.
That's right.
And then there were lots of girls that I knew they were under 18 and they were pregnant.
Mm-hmm.
They were there and I helped one of them. She had the packet and she was wanting to know where to go. And even having covered it as much as I did in theory, I guess, from D.C., it was absolutely devastating to see it in person. And then I ran into I want to get to a question. I ran into a former counterterrorism agent from the FBI that I'd known while standing at the border in Hidalgo. Here she comes across from the Mexico side. And this was in the Biden administration. She said, you don't understand. I'm still trying to work on my own dime. She would go into these strip clubs and try to find trafficking victims. But she said, we lost. The team I was on, we lost our entire budget and had to be disbanded when Biden took office. Can Donald Trump, the first day he comes in, address that?
Absolutely. All he has to do is reinstate the Remain in Mexico policy. Because what that does is it gets rid of the loophole. It says, look, if you're a true person if you deserve asylum, if you can be a productive citizen, I'm very pro-immigration, right? Then you can wait in Mexico, you can go through the process, but what's happening is they're letting everybody in and giving them something called.
But Tim, that policy was hard to get, and I can tell you that because I negotiated a smaller version of it in 1981 with Haiti. I negotiated with Baby Doc because Haitians were coming in 100,000 a month and dying on the shores of South Florida, and Carter left Ronald Reagan with this. And I was tasked as a third-ranking official to change it. So finally we came up with the idea of having a treaty with Haiti. Baby Doc signed a treaty and allowed us to put Coast Guard cutters outside of Port-au-Prince and several other places. And we intercepted the ships before they came across, about a third of which died, by the way.
Yeah.
And we did the asylum application there. The usual 5% got asylum. The usual 98% were returned. And eventually, after 3 months, it stopped. So that's essentially the theory that they use. But it took a lot of negotiations with Mexico, threatening them.
Yeah, I remember.
Really, I mean, I
think Trump
the president of Mexico shared in common with the president of the United States being my client. I once represented him, even though he was a communist. But he's actually a guy that cares about law and order. Doesn't care about anything else.
Yeah.
A complete communist, shouldn't be president, but he cares about law and order. And the president got him to agree. And when Biden deconstructed that, I really wanted to. You can't say, I wanted to hit him in the head.
Yeah.
Because I knew this is not something you can just. What he's going to have to do is he's going to have to create a real problem. The new president now is going to have to create he's going to have to get a tough border patrol, toughen them up like they used to be.
That's right.
Nobody comes in.
That's right.
You just get sent back. Back. Then let Mexico have to deal with that.
That's right.
And then we'll say we'll help you. We'll give you money. We'll give you resources. And also, when we're on the other side of the border, we're playing in their territory. Whereas now they play in our territory. Like, you create like a buffer zone, and they would allow our people to go in. And we did some pretty good work on the cartels too.
Yeah.
So that's going to be a big victory for him. But I bet that takes about 6 months, 8 months.
It'll take some time, but I'll tell you what.
But it'll work.
It does work because we're doing it right now with Aerial Recovery. This is the organization that I work for. We are forward deployed right now, trying to rescue these children before they get into our country.
Can you describe to people, I don't even believe it, how much in control the cartels? If I say the cartels are like a toll booth to come into the United States, how far off am I?
You're spot on.
Right. Tell people that.
These cartels are
and this is all since Biden.
These cartels, and it's all thanks to Biden's policy, these cartels are making about $14 million a day, according to the New York Post. I believe it.
Oh, my God.
On human trafficking and drugs combined? Or
everything together.
Combined, okay.
So what they're doing is, I just got back. I was in Ecuador yesterday with the Minister of Defense. Mm-hmm. I was with the President of Guatemala, Honduras. and they're all telling me the same thing. They're coming down and kidnapping these children.
I wanted to ask you about that because there was some news on that, maybe 3 weeks ago, the Guatemalan children and one of the ministers down there raising the alarm, sending a letter to Ken Paxton. That's been confirmed, right?
Yeah.
It's been validated.
Yes. And you know what? There's a solution, and it's the one you just did with Haiti. The solution is put the asylum courts, put the immigration process in our U.S. embassies. Put them in the embassies so that the legitimate people go there in safety. They don't take a 3,000-mile trek where, by the way, they're getting raped the whole time to pay for their passage.
Right.
And they show up, and thousands of them are kids that disappear. The solution's not that difficult. Start with remain in Mexico, and then put our asylum courts.
If we really wanted to get tough, we could refuse all of them asylum because they don't ask for asylum in Mexico. You have to ask for asylum in the first country you go to.
Right.
And you could just deny all of them instead of letting them in. And we get killed procedurally. We let them in. They come in. They say the magic words, "I'm going to be persecuted if I go back," because they get a card to read it. And then immediately, nobody finds out if that's true or not. We parole them. And we set a date 5 years from now.
Yeah, it's called a notice to appear. We call it a notice to disappear.
What did we used to do? I helped build them. We put them in detention centers.
That's right.
If you got past the border and you said...
Oh, but that makes you evil.
Oh, you damn right it did. Ronald Reagan was like Donald Trump. The New York Times called him evil, and he said... That means I'm a good person.
That's right.
Ronald Reagan used to say, I read the New York Times because I do the opposite of what they say. And that's why the country's in such great shape.
That's right.
Can I ask you a question, Tim? Because often you constantly see delegations of Republicans down to the border where they go along with media. They have some very strong statements to make, go viral. And I understand they're a slim majority, right? And you don't have a Senate that's really working with you because it's pretty 50-50 there. But is there something else that Republicans, even in the situation they're in, where they don't have the White House and they don't have a good majority in Congress, is there something else that you would like to see them actually be doing that's within their power in this current situation we're in that could help?
So I've talked to them about this, many of them, had meetings with the most prominent senators, and every single one of them said, and in the Congress as well, they all said the same thing. The left won't raise an eyebrow at it. They won't say a dang thing about it. So they said the only solution is Trump has to win in November. That's the solution.
Can I get mad on this? This is such a crisis, and when we're talking about the lives of children and I'm sorry, it's really hard. I was a young children. But being abused, used sexually, and for labor trafficking, wouldn't you go to the mat on on funding and just say, hey, we're not going to sign this. There's going to be a government shutdown because children are being trafficked.
That's right.
And what Democrat voter could deny that that's where shutting the government down on?
Well, that's the point of things like Sound of Freedom. It's the reason why we're filming these rescue operations we're doing. Because people don't want to believe it, even on the Republican side. Yeah. It's too hard to believe, and so they kind of push it aside. So we've got to get louder about it, tell the stories, show the kids.
You've got to keep doing it, and the odds and the effort that's mounted against you is powerful and professional.
Oh yeah,
and brilliant in many ways. Right? Yeah. I mean, they try to switch it all around in ways that are obviously not even true if you watch the movie. But not half the people, but maybe because people talk to me, but a quarter of the people that talk to me tell me all the things that are wrong with the movie. They think you're some kind of a crazy person.
Yeah.
Well, they all think I'm a crazy person. Yeah. Some people think you're a crazy person.
Yeah, I know a lot of them do. Yeah, a lot of them do.
But so how do you get through this? I guess we call it the spin, but it's a lot more. It's like spin in large capital letters. I mean, they went after you like crazy when that movie came out.
Oh yeah, they tried everything. First, they said it was QAnon conspiracy, right? But then they realized that
everything is a QAnon.
Yeah, but then they realized that the movie was actually done, produced, and ready, years before the word QAnon was even invented. Okay, because no studio wanted to. Disney owned Sound of Freedom for a year, and they were going to shelve it. Netflix said no. Sony, everybody said no.
I mean, Disney owning it for a year, I mean, that within itself is a whole story, isn't it?
Right. Well, you know why they didn't want it out there? Because they didn't want anyone to have the conversation that we're having right now.
So who's opposed to this? Emerald, it's like when California reduced the penalties for pedophilia. I cannot imagine anybody voting to reduce the penalties for pedophilia unless maybe you get a little delicate about torture. But I mean, they've reduced the time periods, like 10 years down to 7, and lots of recalculations of things with misdemeanors. And then you put it in the hands of the Soros prosecutors, and you know the people arrested are going to go right back out and abuse children again.
That's right.
Now, who the hell would vote for that?
Well, what's happening is
what kind of human being would vote for reducing the penalties on a child or not want to do something to stop this?
We're having a cultural crisis right now where we're sexualizing kids. Okay.
Yeah.
What used to be sex education when I was a kid was nothing. It's pornography today. Right. This whole thing, it's all connected. I was with a Republican caucus, and they said, why can't we wake people up to what's happening to the kids on the border? And I said, you got to connect it all. Yeah. It's more than just the border. It's sexualizing our kids with pornography.
Yeah.
It's parents not paying attention to what they're doing on their phones, and this whole thing with gender mutilation. You understand the pedophiles are salivating over this. If a child at 12 can choose to cut their genitals off, then that means that they can choose to
consent to sex with an adult.
Exactly. The pedophiles have this agenda. They've written it. It's been in the books for decades. Right? They want kids to be able to vote at 12 years old.
Yeah,
why?
and
it empowers the kid to, after they've sexualized them with our fake sex education, now they can use them as sex tools because we've turned our kids into little sex robots. You got to see the whole thing together, and now it makes sense why nobody wants Sound of Freedom out, why they don't want to have this conversation.
You know, I remember talking to people 10 years ago, and, in my peer group, it wasn't, not a lot of us really had kids at the time, even though, I mean, we're older, but we weren't there yet. I kept telling people, we're seeing the normalization of pedophilia. It's the next step. It's about the only standard or the only line that they have not crossed yet. And they're going to start it. And I could already see it. And I mean, it's been happening longer than that.
They're crossing it.
And it's now moving at such a rapid rate.
Yes.
And I think more people are believing it than they did when I started talking about it 10 years ago. But it's happening so hard and so fast.
That's right. Well, because a 50-year-old can now identify as a 15-year-old tiger, and a 12-year-old can identify as a 13-year-old, tigress, and they can say we can have sex.
I think this was always the goal.
Yes.
This was where they wanted to get to through all of this, accepting this, accepting
Believe
this,
me,
accepting that.
The leftist agenda, it's scary. I'm writing a book about it called The Child Trap. It's going to come out this fall. The leftist agenda is almost verbatim the pedophile agenda.
Yeah, sure.
I'm not suggesting they're working necessarily together.
Yes, they are.
But maybe they are.
There's no doubt about it.
It's the same agenda.
There's no question they are.
It's the same agenda.
The goal of Marx is to dehumanize you and to make you feel inferior to everything and everyone. And then communism will uplift you, and then you can be God.
That's right.
And he was also a Satanist. I mean, Marx was a practicing Satanist, probably a pedophile himself.
Yeah.
And any degradation he could impose would help communism.
That's right.
So even if he didn't agree with pedophilia or whatever kinds of perversion you have, he would encourage it.
Yeah.
Because the more you can degrade society, the more you can take it over.
That's right.
And make them your slaves, and you become the rich oligarchs.
That's right. And another point I have to make is, it was about early 70s, right, when the pedophile agenda really started getting momentum, and it's not a coincidence that Roe vs. Wade began there as well, because it's that generation that grew up believing that it was okay to go into a room and crush the skull of a baby that's now saying it's okay for my 12-year-old to cut off her genitalia. You understand? It's just meat. There's no spirit.
I really haven't met anyone like that. I haven't met a parent who's comfortable with their child chopping themselves up. But I'm sure they exist.
Oh, they absolutely exist. Well, if you live in Oregon, California,
I don't know what I would do if I met one like that.
Well, if you tried to stop your kid in Oregon right now, you could go to jail.
I'd probably be in jail.
And California just implemented the same law. If a parent says, "Oh no, 12-year-old, you're not going to cut your genitals off," okay, you could actually be prosecuted by law.
Well, now, would you believe? Oh, let's go back. I was a candidate in the 2008 Republican convention. Would you have believed if we were having this conversation that we would have a conversation like this at the 2008 Republican convention or the 2004
you couldn't even imagine.
or any convention that we'd be talking about children chopping their genitals off, and states like New York saying it was legal, and actually Virginia, and actually saying, in the words of Karl Marx, they're property of the state.
That's right.
My kid is the property of the state.
That's right.
Now, that's words that should inspire a revolution.
Absolutely.
You're not going to take my kid.
Absolutely.
I'm sorry.
But you know what? A lot of this goes back to Obama, and you said the 2008 convention. Maybe not in 2008, but I think by 2012.
You think so?
I think so. That's when I started noticing it with Obama. And you have to remember, Obama had a tranny nanny in Indonesia.
Oh, yeah. I remember when I started watching the reduction.
He's very pro-tranny. He always has been.
I started noticing it when they started playing around, because criminal law, they started playing around with the penalties for pedophilia. Because I always thought politically, you couldn't vote for a high enough penalty for a pedophile, for political value. Now all of these people in California are lowering it.
That's right.
Something is going on. I mean, somebody has a very, very strong pedophile lobby.
That's right. Well, you know,
and there better be a lot of them.
Do you understand? They're trying to eliminate the word pedophile. They're trying to call them minor attracted persons.
I used to fight, when I was married, I used to fight with the man-ambler. The man-boy love. Nambler.
The North American Man-Boy Love Association.
What the hell is that? I used to say to my police department, who the hell are they? What the hell are they? Well, we have breaking news that Chuck E. Cheese has told Biden to get out. Now, you might not know who Chuck E. Cheese is, because he's my senator, and I know him since he was a child, and I once declined a prosecution of him, for which I'm tortured constantly. Like, how stupid were you not to do that? And how about we make it more complicated? His wife was my Secretary of Transportation. So I know Chucky for a long time.
That's a complicated relationship.
Yes, well, the last time we were together, I called him a jerk. But in any event, he is telling Biden to leave.
Wow.
Now, this is his first appearance in 5 weeks. Chucky is living in a hut because he doesn't want to be asked about Israel, because he is a traitor to his own people. Has put his knife in the back of Netanyahu, has decided that Netanyahu should be removed from office, and has decided he can interfere in foreign elections, but if, God forbid, a Republican does, he should go to jail. So this could be one of the worst people in Congress. But he's asking Joe Biden to step down. They must have given him some kind of courage to do it.
You know what else is interesting today?
I'd like to examine him.
This is also breaking at the same time that apparently Joe Biden has been diagnosed or tested positive for COVID-19.
Yeah, and he put out a statement earlier today.
Yep.
Changing things a little, saying, well, the only reason I would step down is if I had an illness. So they gave him one.
Yeah. You know what else is happening? I got from a source in Pennsylvania, and I think actually I had heard, they told me this last week, and I didn't feel like it was confirmed enough to really talk about it, but there's a push to get Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro to step in at the top of the ticket, keep Kamala Harris as the vice president, and Fox News is actually reporting that today too. Now in like the last hour.
Well, he would be actually good for them. He has a tremendous amount of expertise in stealing elections.
And that carries you. You're for sure you're going to steal Pennsylvania, right? For
Just
sure.
think of what a capable man you are if you have a state in which on election night Trump is leading by 100,000 votes. Mathematicians tell you it's absolutely impossible to turn it around, and you do. So he may be crooked, but he's a pretty competent guy to do that. At least he's not a dumb crook.
But getting back to the topic at hand, I mean, I think, Tim, it doesn't matter who's at the top of that ticket. This is the way that any Democrat regime is going to operate on the border exactly the same way the Biden regime is. So it's either you're going to have this kind of border with Democrats, or you get Donald Trump and you get a chance to do something about it, right?
Trump will. There's no president in the history of the United States who's done more to fight human trafficking than Donald Trump. The Democrats will keep this open border policy because they believe that these millions of people and get rid of the voter ID laws, they're going to keep them in power. And they're doing it at the cost of, they got the blood of children on their hands.
And by the same token, isn't Biden the worst? Because the records are ridiculous. Even Obama had numbers that were half or a quarter of his.
Can I also ask you something before we run out of time? Because I've always wondered this, and I don't feel like it can ever be pinpointed, but since you're so deep into this, who is the head of the snake? This is obviously this is child trafficking. I know there's different branches, but there's obviously very powerful people at the top of this. Do we have any idea who is the head of the snake?
We're looking. I mean, we're looking hard. The industry makes about $150 billion every year in buying and selling human beings. There's more slaves today than ever before in the history of the world. In fact, you could add up all the slaves that we talk about in history from the transatlantic slave trade. You can add them all up, and there's more alive today than all of those combined. And we don't talk about it. And the reason we don't talk about it...
what's the reason we don't talk about it? It would seem to me this would be something that would energize the American people. Get them angry and make them...
I'm telling you why they don't want to talk about it. It's the same reason that Sound of Freedom sat on the shelf for 5 years. Because if we talk about it, we have to enforce our borders. And if we enforce our borders, the Democrats are going to lose millions of votes.
And we're going to save our nation.
Right.
Because you can't be a country without borders. If they had their wish, in this election, 50 million Chinese could come in and vote and put a communist in power.
That's right.
Who have no interest in American value. To be a nation, we have to have shared values.
Right.
There has to be something that creates that.
Yes.
So you have a right. You have a right to decide who the people are in your country. Nobody that isn't born here has no right to be here. They have a privilege to be here, and it should be exercised for the good of the country. Now it's exercised for the good of the criminals. I mean, 10 million not vetted. The Chinese are asked, and mind-boggling, 4 questions when they come in. That's the vetting. 4 questions. Up until a year and a half ago, they were asked like 26 or 20. When Trump was in power,
I think it was up to 40.
They were, but Trump held them for 2 or 3 days. Trump threw a lot of Chinese back.
Yeah.
Because you got to figure every Chinese that comes in, he can look like the nicest guy in the world. He could be a spy, or he could be utilized and turned as a spy here because they have police. They have their own police here.
I know.
So to let him in with 4 questions has to be because they bribed him.
Yeah.
I mean, it's so obvious. I'd have to be like a jerk not to realize why would you do that? Nobody would do that. Well, you did get 31 million from them.
You know, look, it's one of the biggest, it still polls as one of the top issues for both Democrats and Republicans. So, and a lot of that hinges on the human trafficking issue. We're running out of time. Tim, I'm glad we got to meet. Sound of Freedom, it was hard for me to watch. I forced myself to do it. I think about these kids at night, and I wake up and pray. And I love the work you're doing. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
You got supporters here, Tim.
Thank you. And please go to aerialrecovery.org.
All right.
What we do is we repurpose veterans. We bring them and we train them on how to infiltrate trafficking organizations. We're having great success, and we're going to continue to have that success.
So you remember when you get discouraged in the tough work that you do, you got a lot of supporters.
Yeah.
And pretty soon you're going to have one of the strongest and most powerful positions in the world.
I pray to God that
I think God has a plan.
I think so. I think so.
I just said a little prayer.
I think so. I say one every day.
And we'll continue praying through the commercial break. We'll be back shortly with more coverage from day 3 of the RNC.
Thank you.
I'm excited to announce my all-new mattress topper. In the times we're in, I wanted to bring you the best affordable mattress topper ever. So I took my 2 best technologies and combined them to make the ultimate mattress topper. And now you can get it for as low as $69.98. Queen size only $99.98. It all starts with my famous MyPillow foam that provides you that overall full body support. Second is the individual comfort supports that give you an amazing custom sleep experience. It's like it's made specifically for you. The queen size alone has over 14,000 comfort supports. This is the perfect mattress topper to improve any bed. New bed, old bed, your guest beds. Get them for every bedroom in your house. Go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to get the all-new My Mattress Topper for as low as $69.98. Queen size only $99.98. Don't delay. Order today.
Mike Lindell here, and like you, I see our country being destroyed daily. We face massive economic issues, and I can tell you from firsthand experience, there are people in power who threaten the values that have made our country great. Well, I've been a believer in gold and silver for a long time, and I've searched for years for a partner that shares my values. Well, Genesis Gold Group showed me how easy it is to protect your IRA, 401k, or your retirement with gold and silver. Their faith-driven approach to service and stewardship is one that stands out from the rest. So call Genesis Gold Group now at 1-800-200-GOLD. That's 1-800-200-4653, or go to LindellGoldRush.com now.
The beef industry takes another blow as Cricket Burgers win America's best burger for the fourth year in a row. This comes after many major beef processing plants have shut their doors for good.
The beef industry continues to take a dive as cricket numbers skyrocket in demand. The insatiable insects have now overtaken cows as America's favorite animal. A market change that has even caused McDonald's to
cricket have cows are now a protected species as Americans they will no longer be seeing beef cows to be put on the indictments they do have crickets.
And here's why that might not be such a bad thing. Consider this. Cows are harmful to the environment.
Cows will go extinct.
Introducing the all-new Prepper Bar. These 62.2 gram bars, perforated and easily broken into 3 denominations, will fit all of your needs. Perfect for asset protection from inflation, economic turmoil, or use it for bartering or trade. Prepper bars make an ideal gift for precious metal lovers. Available in gold and silver, these slim Prepper bars fit neatly into your wallet and can be used in any situation. As gold and silver prices surge and economists predict shortages, now is the time to secure your precious metals with Prepper bars. The only bar divisible into 3 different sizes for maximum utility, tradability, and proudly mined and minted in the United States, these Prepper bars are IRA eligible and will help you diversify your wealth. To order your own Prepper bars, go to www.frankspeechbar.com. That's www.frankspeechbar.com.
All right, we're back with more live coverage here from the Republican National Convention in Milwaukee. Mayor Giuliani, we have tonight's the main event. The main speaker is J.D. Vance, the vice presidential nominee.
Yes.
Yeah, we'll hear from him at 9:30. There are still some people who, have some reservations about him.
Sure.
I'm hearing them. Do you think he'll be able to dispel those tonight?
I heard a pretty good interview with him. Not complete. It was only 20 minutes. So it went well. It wasn't in depth. A speech, of course, can't really. It's an interview that can really flesh him out. And the speech, of course, is going to be largely guided by what they believe is the needs of the candidate, the president. So, I think you'll get a feeling for him. But I don't think you'll answer the questions you want to answer, like what are his deepest held views and what's he going to be like when he's vice president. I think we'll find that out more while he's campaigning and questioned. And vice presidents are put through the next couple of weeks are put through a really tough. I mean, we know a couple of them got killed during this period of time. And they're going to go look for everything about him. he seems to like to be available and answer questions, which is great if he's brilliant and terrible if he's anything short of brilliant, because they'll rip him apart. But we're going to find out plenty about him in the next 2 weeks.
You know, I talked to one of his advisors who really helped with the push to get him chosen as, you know, the vice presidential nominee, also helped actually get him elected in the Ohio Senate. And he knows I'm pretty hardcore. And this person he knows exactly who I am and the reservations that I would have. And he's like, look, I think you're going to be very surprised by JD. And I will say this advisor is particularly good. So knowing that people like that is around Vance makes me feel better, even if I've had questions about him. I know they're going to be really good on it. We just talked with Tim Ballard about immigration and the human trafficking issue. Vance is going to be very supportive to Donald Trump and his policy on that, which is really good. Because there are some people like Doug Burgum. Right. I'm not sure that it would have been the case. He's pretty...
Or he would have to fake it.
He faked it, and then who knows what he'd been doing when he wasn't in front of the camera or letting his staffers do, because that's what, we saw with Pence.
But I think that I think he's going to answer most of the questions over the course of the next couple of weeks, and my guess is he's going to really stand up. In other words, he's not going to be a candidate they beat down or create a problem with. He is abnormally smart for a vice presidential candidate. That helps a lot.
Because they're usually made fun of for not seeming to be the brightest, right? I mean, people got to make it was easy.
Kamala.
Mike Pence was actually an easy target, right?
Yeah,
because especially if you met him in person, he actually came across better on TV than he did in person. And I went into meeting Mike Pence. I was like, this is our kind of guy, because I'm very staunch Christian conservative. He holds the same values. He has a wonderful family. He's so supportive and loyal of Donald Trump. And I remember the first time I met him at the White House, and it's during one of those anchor lunches, before like the State of the Union address. It was like something like that. And they seated me next to Mike Pence. And I was like, oh, this is great,
His wife didn't get him.
Don't tell her.
Okay.
She probably doesn't know this. I met her once too.
Was she there with him? Because I never once I saw when I was trying to brief him on his guy who was short, I think.
Yeah, Mark Short
wouldn't let me near him for 2 weeks because he knew I would have intimidated him.
Of course.
So he always let poor little Professor Eastman, who was 99 years old, go. And
it's just really nice.
So at one point I said to Short, who hates me. I said to him,
he's not a fan of me either.
Give me a shot with his wife.
She's very strange. Okay, so I'll have to tell you.
She's going to make the decision.
So she wasn't,
She was with him all the time, followed him every place. She'd come up to the podium with him and then leave him there.
Honestly, she was
What's going on?
She and the daughter were some of the strangest people I've ever met.
So we used to all think when he was first put on the ticket, I will not say if Trump participated in these discussions, but
well, I think he could read into that.
Was he a reformed cheater? She's afraid that if she lets him out of his sight,
it's so funny because it was suggesting that he could not control his impulses. It spoke kind of badly.
Well, maybe that was it. A lot of people said he's an uncontrolled cheater, and he's going to jump on somebody if she's not around.
I did not get that sense from him at all. Let me just clarify that. But he was very. It was very fake.
It was with him all the time.
This is a funny story. So it was very put on. He would do this. You'd ask him a question. There was a beat for him to process it. And you go. Well, Emerald, you see, a believer and a child of God, and he would go into this whole performance.
Always religion, right? Always.
But then there was this whole act. It was like he became a robot trying to be something. And so I talked to someone who knew him in his radio days, and he was quite, he was animated as a radio host, and this was not that person. And you know what they said he was trying to do? Someone who knew him he was a producer who knew him in his radio days. He thought he was doing a Reagan persona. That's what he was trying to do.
Trying to imitate.
He was imitating Ronald Reagan. Now, clearly he wasn't a very good actor because nobody got that sense.
No, Ronald Reagan was my hero. And Mike Pence is no Ronald Reagan.
Didn't seem like it at all, right? So it was weird. It was so robotic. And then it just kept getting, all my interactions with his team and his family just kept getting weirder and weirder.
This is a pretty good intellectual substantive choice when you consider the ones we're talking about. Even Biden. How can you forget Biden? I mean, Biden was the dumbest man in the Senate.
All those White House press poll reporters made so much fun of him. Remember?
Yeah, well, no one could figure the only reason I thought that he selected him is that he could push him around, and I think he got annoyed with him that he was so stupid because he'd make so many mistakes.
Yeah, remember Obama did not want him to run in 2020. Initially, he tried to talk him out of it, and also in he did not want Biden to be a successor to him because he felt like he would just screw up his legacy all along the way. Try to talk him out of it.
So, do they pull his nomination tomorrow to sit on the acceptance speech? I mean, they're moving pretty fast.
They have to move fast now.
They're moving pretty fast when you have him saying. First thing I heard this morning is, "Oh, Biden has changed his position a little bit. If he has a serious illness, he'll leave." Well, of course, he has a serious illness already. Then you have Schumer now, saying, "Get out." And now we hear he has COVID.
Right.
That's because he took vaccines.
It's just an interesting time.
I never
he
had
has
a vaccine.
COVID, and now the call from Schumer. I think we'll probably see more people now that obviously after Schumer has broken the wall and now called for it, we're going to see more high-profile Democrats.
Well, there got to be a lot of high-profile Democrats.
They've already had the discussions.
And donors, because Schumer would not. He'd go against a high-profile Democrat, but he'd never go against the donors. So there's tremendous donor support. So he's making himself a hero with the donors. He would not have done this if it wasn't almost a fait accompli, because he has absolutely no courage. I mean, not at all. So this is going to happen. It's just a matter of how they're going to play it out, and maybe compete with the acceptance speech by taking him out.
It's also perhaps,
or ruin the whole weekend of talk about the Republican convention
or the assassination attempt. They have to change the narrative on the assassination attempt because it's not been good for them, even in the liberal media.
Yeah,
it's dominating the airwaves.
Yep. Because actually, what would happen if nothing happened is the convention and assassination talk kind of merges together because it happened right before the convention. Right. So now you have all weekend talking about that, as opposed to who are the Democrats going to select.
You know what it signals for me? It signals for me that they have someone in mind, potentially, that they feel comfortable now moving forward with, whereas I feel like in the last couple of weeks they've been scrambling, well, if not Biden, what do we do? Because it's very difficult to put Kamala Harris on the top of the ticket. It seems like Gavin Newsom, he didn't maybe really want to do it now. He wants to wait till later, maybe because he doesn't want to have the baggage of Kamala Harris. So it seems to me that maybe they're more confident with the plan. They've decided something, and now you're seeing them put into place the moves to take him out.
But the move to take Kamala out, I don't know how you do that without.
But if you leave her on the VP side, you think?
Yeah, it would be better. I mean, it would be better than it would hurt. There'd be a lot of, why did you pick this white man instead of the black woman who's much better prepared? It will probably hurt. It will probably pick up some black votes, a little bit from that. But it would not be disastrous. You take her off completely, I think it's a disaster.
That's why it's also interesting that this news breaks today when I think, Charles Gasparino, is that how you say his name with Fox Business? Yeah. He's reporting what I had heard last week, that Josh Shapiro of Pennsylvania was being courted by donors. An influential...
He's a white man.
I know, but because it's Pennsylvania, I suppose, he's also done a lot of favors for these Democrats, a lot that hasn't even been reported. It's interesting that this news is coming out on the same day that we're hearing this about Biden's COVID diagnosis, the Shapiro thing, and now Schumer calling for him to step down. What do you think is the next shoe to drop? Before we get a break, and we're almost out of time.
I think a confirmation of his COVID diagnosis. It's a really bad case of COVID.
He goes in the hospital or no?
Doesn't have to. The combination of all these things have led me to decide that it's better for the country that a president and therefore I'm not going to run for re-election. And if he does it on that ground, COVID, he can stay as president.
Mm-hmm.
If he does it on the truth, which is he's
dementia.
Yeah, right. He's an accomplice menace. Then he'd have to. That would put Harris in the presidency, and now you can't take her out.
I think you're right. Right.
He just
that makes sense.
Or maybe even better to go into the hospital. It gives it a little more seriousness
and believability. You know, we'll have to say. I think we're going to see a lot more happening very quickly, probably even in the next few hours. And of course, we'll keep you posted here on Frank's Speech. Even though we're covering the RNC convention, we're keeping our eyes on the outside because it all must be discussed in context. And we'll be right back after this break.
I'm excited to announce my all-new mattress topper. In the times we're in, I wanted to bring you the best affordable mattress topper ever. So I took my two best technologies and combined them to make the ultimate mattress topper. And now you can get it for as low as $69.98. Queen size, only $99.98. It all starts with my famous MyPillow foam that provides you that overall full body support. Second is the individual comfort supports that give you an amazing custom sleep experience. It's like it's made specifically for you. The queen size alone has over 14,000 comfort supports. This is the perfect mattress topper to improve any bed. New bed, old bed, your guest beds. Get them for every bedroom in your house. Go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to get the all-new My Mattress Topper for as low as $69.98. Queen size, only $99.98. Don't delay. Order today.
Mike Lindell here, and like you, I see our country being destroyed daily. We face massive economic issues, and I can tell you from firsthand experience, there are people in power who threaten the values that have made our country great. Well, I've been a believer in gold and silver for a long time, and I've searched for years for a partner that shares my values. Well, Genesis Gold Group showed me how easy it is to protect your IRA, 401k, or your retirement with gold and silver. Their faith-driven approach to service and stewardship is one that stands out from the rest. So call Genesis Gold Group now at 1-800-200-GOLD. That's 1-800-200-4653, or go to LindellGoldRush.com now.
The beef industry takes another blow as Cricket Burgers win America's best burger for the fourth year in a row. This comes after many major beef processing plants have shut their doors for good.
The beef industry continues to take a dive as cricket skyrocket in demand. The insatiable insects have now overtaken cows as America's favorite animal. A market change that has even caused McDonald's to
cows are now protected species as America means they will no longer receiving beef. Cows are being indicted. They do have privileges.
And here's why that might not be such a bad thing. Consider this. Cows are harmful to the environment.
Cows will go extinct.
Introducing the all-new Prepper Bar. These 62.2 gram bars, perforated and easily broken into 3 denominations, will fit all of your needs. Perfect for asset protection from inflation, economic turmoil, or use it for bartering or trade. Prepper bars make an ideal gift for precious metal lovers. Available in gold and silver, these slim Prepper bars fit neatly and can be used in any situation. As gold and silver prices surge and economists predict shortages, now is the time to secure your precious metals with Prepper bars. The only bar divisible into 3 different sizes for maximum utility, tradability, and proudly mined and minted in the United States. These Prepper bars are IRA eligible and will help you diversify your wealth. To order yours, go to www.frankspeechbar.com. That's www.frankspeechbar.com.
Welcome back to our live coverage from Milwaukee in the 2024 Republican National Convention. Look, I have Ivan Reichland with me, better known for the faces he makes behind high-profile testimonies before Congress. Fauci probably being, I don't know, it's a toss-up. You had some pretty epic ones. Has anyone put together a montage yet of the faces of you in congressional hearings?
So we're working on that, Emerald. I've confronted Merrick Garland, Christopher Ray Epps, as I like to call him, twice, Ali Mayorkas a couple times. We've also confronted Dr. Walensky, right? Wow. As well as Anthony Fraudchi. And then Hunter Biden as well, asking him what kind of crack he smokes and if he's still on the tape.
I remember that. That was amazing.
Russia. I was on with Dan Bongino a couple hours ago, and he asked me about that. Wait, you're the guy that... Yeah, that was me.
That's me.
That's only one of the many
But you know what was
times.
funny? I heard the voice, and I just chuckled. Somebody next to me was like, who is that? I'm like, that is Ivan Reichland. I know that voice anywhere.
So I got to say, it's literally therapeutic, just like ivermectin. Everything I do.
Well, you know what? I can attest to that. I understand what you're talking about because I remember in 2021, sitting at the White House, and here comes Dr. Anthony Fauci. You know, I was tethered to, I was working for Newsmax at the time. I was tethered to my camera, and he was by himself, and he wasn't protected by all the usual aides that were surrounding him to make sure people like me did not get to ask him questions. And I mean, I've showed this video a few times on my show, but I don't know what to come up with. I just ran after him, and my photog is like, you're going to take the camera with you. But I was asking him, why he lied about funding the gain of function research. And
I watched that recently, a couple of weeks ago again.
And it was kind of, but
Beautiful.
What was frustrating is that I wasn't able to corner him in a way that would have forced him to answer me, but at least trying to yell at him the questions after everything that evil gnome had done.
Evil gnome.
Made me feel just a little bit better.
It is therapeutic, isn't it? To actually tell them that you know. And now they know that you know. Now we take it to the next level, which is the mother of all Twitter files. And who did I just have a meeting with before coming on to the show here?
Tell us, Ivan.
Matt Taibbi. For about 20, 30 minutes, we went through the mother of all Twitter files. Oh, we went through the deep state target list, which is by category and by name of individuals that conduct a category of seditious conspiracy and treason against our constitutional order going back 10 years, starting off with the illegal spying operation on Carter Page, General Flynn, Paul Manafort, and George Papadopoulos. And I can list you pretty much every single name of every FBI and CIA person that was involved in that op.
And what did Matt Taibbi have to say about it? I mean, he was a little bit late to the game because we've all been reporting on this for so long. He gets, not like Taibbi, I've had conversations with him. He's called and asked me, since I have reported on all of this so long and the deep state, how things are ran out of DHS and the censorship.
So you were one of the first ones with any sort of voice that exposed the Republican side of the deep state, meaning Joshua Pitcock's wife, Catherine Seaman, who was the Russia analyst for Pablo Strzok, one of the two that was deployed by Andy McCabe and Jim Comey to interview General Flynn with the purpose of getting him fired or to get him to lie, according to Bill Priestap's notes. Priestap being the deputy, the assistant director for counterintelligence at the FBI. So as you connect all these things, as you do the research, like a real investigative journalist should be doing, like you do, you start to disclose all of it. And here's the whole purpose of this mother of all Twitter files. When you look at all those involved in the conspiracies, the 39 that unmasked Flynn, one of them being Jamie Raskin's wife, the 51 that spies who lied, one of them being the later staff director for the J6 cover-up committee. As you connect all these dots and their relationships, and you see which ones have Twitter accounts, that's when you can present it to Elon Musk and those involved in Twitter files to say, hey, peek into their DMs, peek into those names on whether there was internal Slack channel communications with them, and peek into the emails of Twitter holdings between Twitter employees and those individuals, and then showcase the geotag location data related to all that, and then present it to the state and the county that is red where those individuals can be serviced similar to how Alvin Bragg is servicing and similar to how Fonnie Willis is servicing.
You cannot get these, and we've had a lot of discussion on, accountability for the jabs and the bad COVID policies.
Mike Pence ran that task force.
Right, but there are state officials and state attorneys general.
Chris Kobach.
You're seeing some of it now, right? But for so long you didn't. But they always act like they can do anything. But local sheriffs,
district attorney.
I mean, the left does it.
Well,
the left does it, and
what
they
does Alvin Bragg do
with fake investigations.
Exactly.
So when you actually have a justified, warranted, crime and a solid predicate for investigation, yet they won't on our side. And I know exactly what you're talking about with your plan, because you hear some people whisper about it, but I think you're the first person I've seen actually overtly come out and lay out how it works and what they have the power to do.
Right. So I laid out like the best course of action plan. Now I'm trying to help implement that plan, which is let's put together the evidence. Let's coordinate with the appropriate sheriffs where that evidence needs to be and district attorneys or attorneys general where that needs to be directed to. And then let's motivate those law enforcement entities to do their job. So on Saturday, I'll be going down to Texas speaking to probably up to 250 sheriffs.
Wow.
Specifically. So if you're listening in from the radical, extremist, domestic terrorist left and the domestic terrorist organization known as the FBI, I look forward to you sending some folks to keep an eye on me, because I will be keeping an eye on you.
So let me ask you a question. You said you just had this conversation with Matt Taibbi, who I didn't know was here, but obviously reporting from the Republican National Convention. He did get access to the Twitter files, but
there's still a lot of stuff that he has not released.
Does he have?
He's interested in
I understand that they had to go through a certain procedure, right? It wasn't just a blanket dump,
right?
And you got to go through it. You had to be very specific in asking for, from what I understand from him, because I asked him about it when we had a conversation. But he still has some information he has yet to release.
Yes.
What do you think we would learn from that yet to be released information?
I think the more important question is, with respect, obviously, what happens when we get some of that stuff presented to the Judiciary Committee Chairman Jordan and his staff, and Jim Comer and his staff, and Barry Loudermilk, as it applies to J6 Fedsurrection and his staff, and request that they subpoena Elon Musk for the DMs and all the Twitter holdings that I'm referring to. Then he's under obligation. Elon Musk is happily under obligation to share all of that for those three committees to devour, and then create their own reports, to start to then create reports and evidence to then send over to those counties and states.
And are you confident that Republicans?
I'm communicating with all of those people,
and they will do it, because a lot of
if
the
they don't do it, then
upset.
You're going to find out on my Twitter feed and on my Rumble channel who is not participating, so that I can help inform people who needs to be motivated to do that. That's the best that I can do in my legal, moral, and ethical duties to this country. And the more people know who's not doing the right thing, then they can feel public demand for them to act. And again, I'm not only relying on the House. I'm also there's multiple lines of effort trying to get the House to do the subpoena. If they don't do it, then we try to motivate Elon Musk to do it on his own volition, to protect himself now that he's all in for President Trump. And then also, now that they just conducted the maximum political violence possible, which is the attempted assassination of a president, I think we're in a position now that those toxic, feckless, stone-cold coward DAs and sheriffs that are of Mike Pence, I think they now are in a position that they might be motivated to start acting.
You really think so? The tide has turned.
Let me answer it this way. They would not do it without my involvement. That's why I'm involved. And I personally guarantee that this will come to fruition while I'm alive. I can only give you my personal guarantee that I will do everything in my power to make sure it happens.
And what kind of timeline should we expect?
September 3rd. LeVall Twitter files.
September 3rd. I'll mark it down on my calendar.
And here's why.
Okay.
The Democrats are going to decide who their nominee is for the president and vice president, because it's probably not going to be your buddy dementia patient
Well, it's looking less and less like it by the hour at this point. Did you see the news that Chuck Schumer has now told him he should step out?
Yeah, I heard he checked out of an event tonight, just like a couple hours ago.
Well, he has COVID-19.
Oh, is that what they're calling it now?
Yeah.
I thought it was the CCP-19 lab incident that was funded by Anthony Fauci, wasn't it?
Yeah, it could also just be the.
Yeah, I know.
It's a new virus. It's the convenient
right.
virus.
They'll just keep doing that, put them in quarantine. We're going to go back to 10-day quarantines, right? Just like they used to.
Probably.
Bottom line here is that
Hide Biden again.
Once the DNC convention is complete, August 22nd, okay? And then once everybody's back from August recess and Labor Day is complete on September 2nd, I'm like, if you're a federal government employee right now listening in, we're going to give you amnesty until September 3rd, meaning if you were involved in any way, shape, or form as a witness to take a look at my deep state target list, to those individuals involved in the 39 unmasking of General Flynn, the 51 that spies involved in the impeachment hoax 1, impeachment hoax 2, the whistleblower operation with Ukraine, every single aspect of the Fedsurrection and its cover-up. If you don't come out and be a whistleblower to Jim Jordan, if you're from the DOJ, to Comer, if you're from the National Security Apparatus, White House, the rest of it, because we can't rely on the hip seat chair right now because he's captured Mike Turner, in my opinion. And if you're involved in the January 6th cover-up stuff and involvement in that Fedsurrection, if you don't come to Loudermilk, if you don't come out by September 3rd, you will be treated as a co-conspirator when we go ahead and start to service those individuals that will be exposed. You will be incorporated in the search and the disclosure on September 3rd as being co-conspirators, and you're going to have to deal with that in your personal and your official capacity. So I'm kind of giving you an out here now that you're seeing that the tides are turning. Elon Musk's on our side. Forms, you're being exposed. So this is your last September 3rd, and then we start the release, and then we provide that evidence to the specific counties and states, law enforcement that are overwhelmingly red. Counties across the country are overwhelmingly red, and they are now, I think, comfortable, based on what just transpired on Saturday, to start going to the max within their authority.
You call yourself this future distribution.
I would say I'm kind of currently doing it. It's a position of action, not a position of title.
You're now acting. You're acting.
No, it's a position of action.
Yeah.
So some people are like, oh, you're in administration. And like, oh, Trump's Secretary of Retribution. I'm actually doing that. And that position is the coordination nationally of creating consequences, also known as retribution, which is the justifiable, legal manner in which to hold people to account for conducting criminal activity.
Can I ask you, Donald Trump has promised retribution. We're seeing a bit of a softer...
I promised it as well.
We're seeing a bit softer side of him since the assassination on his life, and he lived... Okay, I'm going to get to this real quick because we're 90 seconds from...
Yeah. I'm just saying.
Has it made... It's all about unity. He changed up the schedule. He's apparently changed up his speech for tomorrow night. Do you think he will still guarantee retribution?
I think you should expect the terms accountability needs to be had. I think at this point, now that we've gotten the attention of those on the list, Jamie Raskin's aware, his wife Sarah Raskin, and everybody else, that they're basically going to be scrutinized. There's no reason to use terminology like that anymore. We need to basically showcase America that they are the ones that have committed political violence, and we need to stop that and hold them to account for continue to conduct that, to include the attempted assassination attempt.
Donald Trump didn't do that in 2016. From the 2016 campaign to 2017, he did not lock her up, and Hillary Clinton was guilty of crime. Do you think he's learned his lessons?
I don't know.
Okay.
That's why I'm operating under the assumption that they steal the election again, and we don't have a President Trump, so that our institutions at the county state levels will create consequences with or without a compliant federal government.
This is not necessarily relying on what Donald Trump does then.
Yes. Correct. I'm assuming that they steal it and he's not a president. Now, if he becomes president, it would be very helpful.
Be very helpful. Ivan Raiklin, the acting Secretary of Retribution. We shall see.
The deep state marauder.
September 3rd, we will check back in with you. Probably before then, but definitely by then. I'm very interested to see how this progresses. And I'll get that interview with Taibbi as well. Thanks for jumping in with us.
Thank you, Emma. Appreciate it.
All right, we're going to go to a commercial break. We're keeping our eye on the main stage, and we'll be back with more live coverage from Milwaukee. Joe Altman's about to step in with me.
There he is.